Ya estamos. Yes. Hi. Okay. I'm going to make sure that I log in. Yes. See?
Ya estamos. Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to make sure that we put this public so everyone can see it. Perfect. And Sellers Bootcamp episode 2. Okay. Vamos a ver. Nancy, she was texting me already. Are you live? What's happening? Okay. I'm gonna make that right there. Awesome. Okay, well, let's do this.
Yes.
So I can see whoever comments. Okay. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Today is episode 2 of our Sellers Bootcamp. And today we're going to talk a few things. We're going to talk about inspections and we're going to talk about home staging because even though we know it's a seller's market, we want to make sure that our sellers don't leave any money on the table. Okay. So the first thing I wanted to check in. Oh, hi, Barry. You know what, Barry? You are actually always watching our videos, so I love it. Thank you so much for your support. I'm so excited. So hi, Nancy. We are gonna talk about how not to leave money on the table, right? So give me a quick second. I have some noise on the background. One quick second. I'm literally disappearing from the video. So give me one quick second. All right, I'm here. This is part of the direct live videos. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is inspections. Why do sellers do pre-sale inspections, or why do we advise that our sellers do a pre-sale inspection? There are a couple of inspections that we talk about. One is in the event that we are selling outside the city of Chicago. Most suburbs, they do have a pre-sale compliance inspection. It's part of the transfer stamps requirements, and they do have to have that inspection done prior to selling the house once they go under contract. So let me actually put this live and see if I can make it better. Oops. Whew. Perfect. Okay. We're getting better at this. So those inspections are mandatory once you go under contract and prior to closing because it's part of those pre-sale requirements for those towns. Now, I always like to do those pre-sale inspections prior to going under contract because you just never know. If you have a long list and you have to sell assets because your seller is not willing to do those repairs, or maybe they really can't do those repairs, then we have an issue. Because if we are under contract and then we give the buyer the report and we say, hey, this is the long list of repairs that the town is requesting for us to be able to close. So I like to do those inspections prior to, even when I list the property, one of the first things I do. It depends also on the property and the town. Some of them, they do expire within 30 days. So I just like to manage when I'm going to do that inspection, but I like to do it in the early stages of listing a property. So that's one inspection. And the other inspection. Oh, hi, Alfred. Hi, guys. Hi. Thank you for joining. So, and the other inspection that I advise sometimes to my sellers, for my sellers to do, is either have a tour of the house with the licensed inspector or a home contractor, just to see, like, mechanicals. How are the mechanicals? How's the foundation? How is the roof? How are the windows? How are the major components of a home? Because once you do go under contract and the buyer has the time to do those inspections for them, they come with their inspector, they might see a long list of repairs as well, and we don't want them to feel scared. We don't want them to back out, and we just want to be able to be proactive and prevent certain things from happening. So those two inspections is something, in some cases, both of them are not applicable. It's not mandatory, the one that you do the tour with a contractor or inspection, but we always advise that you are proactive and you prepare for when you go under contract to have a smoother transaction. Now, another thing that we do with our sellers is staging, is redecorating a home, is preparing for that new buyer or that person that's going to come in the property and fall in love with the property. So today we have actually a guest speaker. Her name is Oneida Mejia. She's an international interior designer, and she will be joining us just now. So let me welcome her. One second, Oneida, and you're there. Welcome, Oneida. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Ainhoa, for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be with you today.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, first of all, I know you made out of your calendar and your agenda, you made some time, especially in this crazy weather that we have, and everyone is busy, and the internet and the issues, and so thank you so much for your time and for being here with us today. So tell us a little bit about you. Who is Oneida, and what do you do with this interior designing career?
So my name is Oneida Mejia, and I'm the president and owner of OM Decor Co. I have been in business for over 30 years.
Okay.
But doing staging itself has been 10 about. So I had all the, for many years I did interior design until a friend asked me to do a staging for her. And after having a real amazing experience with the staging, I decided that, and I believe so much in it because I do believe in what a staging can do. I decided that was something else that I was gonna add to my career, and I just have a passion for stagings because I've seen the difference. I've seen how it helps to sell, and not only to sell faster, but to really make the best out of a property that someone had and was not able to see what was the best of the space. So I think it's totally fascinating what a staging can do. I do believe in it.
Awesome. I love that. I love the passion. I wanted to ask you, because I did hear that you were part of an art gallery as well at some point. So tell us about your love for art in general.
Of course. So through being a stager, I mean an interior designer, I was able to manage one of the first Latin American art galleries in the city of Chicago. We opened it up, and it lasted about 4 years, but I ended up being so busy with my interior design that I had to leave that then and continue with where my passion is, which is interior design. But I always love art. I love originals, and I always encourage people. I even have it in my website. I encourage people to buy originals. You can buy them at the price that you can pay. There's so many good artists out there that they're not expensive, that they are good artists, and they have a passion for what they do, and they deserve to be recognized.
Okay, I love that. Awesome. And you said that you do staging because you fell in love after having a project with your friend, and she was a realtor and she needed some help to kind of like make over the way that home looked like in order to sell faster and at top dollar. So in this market, actually, because we overall in Chicagoland area and suburbs too, we're seeing a low inventory and homes are really not lasting much in the market. But those homes that they are lasting in the market, in the most part, they have poor photography. They could have done a lot of better with the space, and they are having a hard time selling. And some of them end up, especially condos too, because we did have a little bit of a shortage in buyer demand for, or in buyer interest in condos. So I think condos, if they were, some of them, that they are vacant or that they were somewhat decorated, or they could take some help to actually sell faster, or at least being sold, because some of them are having a hard time and being struggling. So I completely understand, and I love the idea of having you here today, because some of those sellers could take a little bit of help. It doesn't, it's not a huge investment, but it is certainly an investment that they will actually receive more money by staying less time in the market and selling to a best buyer sooner rather than later. So
Exactly.
yeah, so what part, like what is the staging, and what type of stagings are available?
Okay, so staging refers to show the best potential of a property to help it sell fast for top dollars. So
Okay.
staging is not only that helps you sell fast. No, it's the fact that using the best way the space in the best way possible, um, then obviously if you present it well, if you use the lighting correctly, I mean there are so many things that I analyze obviously to be able to do a staging. It's not the placing of the furniture, that is much more than that.
Right. We'll go into that in a quick second. We'll go into that. But what types of
Yeah.
staging we
So
have?
there are two types. I call it two, but actually it's almost like three. But there are two types. It's um,
Partial?
see, there you go. Partial staging and full
You
staging.
told me. I didn't know. I actually didn't know. But in the interview with you yesterday, you actually told me. So I learned it from you. It's not like
Somehow
I
it
tried to tell you.
works out. So there is a partial and full staging. In the partial staging is when someone already have the couches and the tables and a lot of pieces in their home, the beds, and I just bring the accents, no, and and I call it partial, but sometimes I need to bring extra chairs and extra, pieces that are a little bit larger than just accents, um,
Okay.
because that way I can present it better, or I can open up the space, or so there is the partial, no, when you bring certain pieces, but it's not a full truck with movers. So that's
Okay.
when the full staging comes, is when you have literally movers, because you have an empty property, and then of course you bring beds and you bring couches and dining tables,
Tables.
the rest, everything else, art and everything that you need to place in a home, in a house, to make
Okay.
it more homey and comfy and and
More
inviting.
presentable.
Inviting,
Awesome.
yes.
What was the third one that you said? Is it
Well,
redecorating?
yes,
Was it?
because you see, the partial staging, there are partial stagings where I only bring art and few little things here and there. So they are much easier, right? I can bring those with help in my car.
Yeah.
But those that I'm telling you that are partial, but they need to bring like maybe a dining table, maybe a dining table, that table that only has a glass, a piece of glass and legs. So I can even bring them in my car, but it's still, it's a table. So it's a little bit more complicated. So that's why I said there's two. So under the partial staging, there are some that are smaller than others. Obviously, people would have to understand that I'm only trying to use the best that they have, that is more up to date, so that we can make it look nice and
Tell us about your blue bracelet.
so what I do is when I walk into a home, um, obviously when I'm already hired, I I get a blue tape that I wear it as a bracelet. So I mark everything that the owner has to remove. Because at the end of the day, what we need to do for an staging is to declutter. First of all, to declutter, and then the other thing is to um, take all the personal items away, because you don't want, when you want someone to walk into a home, you don't want them to feel that that home belongs to someone already, because why would you be interested then? It's
Right.
more like, um it's more like, oh, I could live here. It feels perfect for me. I could really come in here. I could move in here. It's a beautiful place. That's what you're
Okay.
trying to tell.
Okay, so that's the blue bracelet. And
Exactly.
how do you deal with emotions? I know you're very good at like understanding the emotions of your client, but like let's tap on that. Like sellers do have their feelings for the most part
See,
in these homes. So how do you deal with
so
that?
to me, that is one of the most important things, because as you know, as a realtor, as a good realtor, I know that you know as a fact, because I know that you work with people close to me. um there's people who sell for a lot of different reasons. you know People sell, sometimes it's an elderly person because their husband died. So this is not just a staging, this is not just a sell. This is someone who comes into your house, who's willing to understand what you're going through, and still help you to detach. This is the most important of all. You have to detach from that home that was home to you for many years or a short period of time or whatever. Someone sometimes gets divorced, they have to move on. There people go through many, many, many different phases in
Situations.
life. It's not just because now I have two kids and I need more bedrooms. No, that's not the reason why. There are many, many reasons why you have to move on from a property. So you
Okay.
have to accommodate people. You have to be there, be part of it, and and help them detach, because it's amazing how when a person detaches from a property, yes,
Question, because I remember there is an instance, there is an example that you actually shared with us yesterday about exactly this, like the detaching part of it. And I really, really love it. And I want you to say it.
of
That
course.
what happened to these family member of yours that she needed to sell. And what do you tell her when it was time for her to detach from the home? You said, say thank you or something like that.
See, so this very close, someone very close to me was selling her townhome, and she lived in there for some like 28 years, and she loved the space. I did the space for her. She always loved it. And then the problem was that when I did the staging, she loved it more. So now is when she didn't want to move, but she had to move on. So what happens is that every day she would walk around. There wasn't a staging done, and it was out in the market. So every day she would walk around the place, this townhome, and
Mhm.
she would cry. She would cry because she didn't want to let go. And when I saw the behavior, then I said, you know what? Nobody really is going to buy this place until you work on detachment. You really have to be grateful for the years that you lived in here. You have to be grateful for the fact that you love this place, and you have to let it go. And there's no other way. So instead of crying, why don't you start? Since you wake up in the morning and you go down the stairs, just be grateful. Just say thank you, thank you, thank you. You walk out to the supermarket, whatever you go to. When you come back and you come in, just say thank you, thank you. And it's amazing how in about 5 days, it went on
Under
bidding
contract.
in a bidding war, and she ended up getting much money. She ended up getting exactly what she dreamed of getting. And the
That's
stories, I can tell you many of them. So
that is
that's why
yeah.
that's why I I cannot express enough how much I believe in staging. It's because I've seen it. I've seen it.
I agree 100%. We do, sometimes our clients, if it's a smaller home, a smaller space, it might not necessarily, I mean, I kind of like play a stager sometimes, and not a stager, but somewhat giving some tips when we go and visit our clients' homes. It's hard sometimes to have that conversation with someone when, they have their personal photos out there. That's one of the main ones I say you have to remove the personal photos from the property for sure. Or when they have a room, we're going to talk about that in a second about colors and lighting. But when they have a room that is red, or when they have different type of furniture that doesn't really talk to each other. Because I always say, and I think I mentioned it to you yesterday, and I say it every time, that every house or every home tells a story, but every room tells a chapter, and all of them need to talk to each other in order to actually have a balanced story. So, and I know we share the same thought with that. But before we go into more like emotions and talk more into that, let's just stick to the path. So I wanted to ask you, let me see, so I don't forget. So, some tips for our sellers viewers in terms of like, okay, what's the top 3-4 things that they are important when we come into a space and it's time for us to sell, other than call you. If they don't call you, there couple of things that they could do. What's important, like lighting. I think you mentioned paint. Let's go into that.
Okay. So I definitely believe that I would say number one is lighting. You have to have the right lighting because everything shows much better. Obviously, nowadays, we have more and more ceiling light. Before, on the old construction, they didn't even put any lighting in the ceiling. So we have to really work on that seriously. The other thing is, it's amazing what a fresh coat of paint can do. And even if you cannot afford to paint the whole place, sometimes painting the foyer and painting the back wall from the couch, like just few accents where it helps you to create an ambience, is amazing what that can do. But of course, if you can paint the whole place, that is exactly what I recommend.
Okay, so lighting, fresh coat of painting, and then I think you just mentioned foyer. So tell us a little bit about that. I know you said that one of your favorite parts actually is exactly that. It's like the entrance of the home. Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Of course. So the foyer is always first impression. So it doesn't matter that's where you walk in. So you want to make the best impression there. So if you have a good piece of artwork, or if you have, so obviously you painted, right? And then if you have a good piece of artwork, or if you have a sculpture, or just to make it interesting enough that looks different, but at the same time that looks attractive, and some drama in it, in any way you can, with what you can afford and what you have available.
Okay.
A lot. The other things when it comes to that is bathrooms. I think bathrooms and foyers are amazing. You go to a bathroom, and if you put the right details in it, that is amazing. How you can be like, wow.
It makes a big difference, right? The first impression is everything. So I agree with you, especially for showings. I mean, when it's time to take media day or pictures and videos, because as we said, the first ever showing is online. So if they don't like what they see online, they don't even go and schedule, especially now with this snow like that. They don't even go and see the house if they don't like what they see online, for the most part. So it's very important that we take good pictures, and the staging does play a big role. But when you go into showings or an open house, or you're actually in person in that property, I think it's very important. It was actually like I opened for me when you said it yesterday, that foyer to be like a statement piece or something that it catch your attention. It's kind of like, oh, this is interesting. Let me see what the rest of the house looks like. So I agree with you 100%. I think you did mention already something that also yesterday about couches and accent pieces and the pillows in it. It was actually very important too, and it's very affordable for some of these sellers that they might not be able to afford staging.
Exactly.
It's something that they could do on their own.
Definitely. It's amazing how you can bring up to date a couch just by putting the right pillows.
And hitting on it.
Yeah, totally. So I was telling her yesterday that there's an staging that I did that the couch was very, very old. It was very beaten. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? I think that was one of the first stages that I did. And I didn't even have so many pieces. I didn't have that much at the time. So I start beating the couch until I would make everything look straight and good, and the foam looked like it was like it was in a perfect shape. And then I brought, too bad that I should have brought you pictures of it so that people can.
We have your website, and we're gonna put your website also on the on this episode. I know we have actually some questions too from people that they are looking at. So I will ask you at the end. We'll have a mini Q&A. With a couple of questions from people, but yeah, we'll put your website there so people can see actually your work from partial staging to full staging and redecorating, your tips, curtains. Like you are so in love with curtains or with art in general.
Amazing what a curtain can do to a room. You know, in the stagings, I always use curtains in the living room and in the bedrooms. Because it's just that you change everything. You make it much warmer somehow.
Okay.
So, yeah, curtains is a must.
Awesome. And what if we have a smaller space? Because I know some of the homes that we are selling, the city of Chicago is not famous for having huge bedrooms for the most part. I mean, there are different type of homes and different price ranges. But in general, some of the homes in Chicago are over 100 years old. And even though you rehab them, some of them, they don't grow in size. So what can we do with this smaller size?
Yes. So what I recommend is to use pieces of furniture that are in a smaller scale. So smaller scale so that the space looks, bigger.
Okay.
So we work a lot with, it's like an illusion that you create. And that you do in interior design, that you do in staging, is everything is an illusion that you create.
Correct.
So if you use smaller pieces of furniture, then the room is going to look bigger and you're not going to feel like trapped.
Okay. So you did mention yesterday the small scale furniture. Also, you tapped on something I had no clue, and it was about the area rugs.
Yes, definitely. Sometimes, like for example, if it's in a small living room and dining room and somehow they're attached together, I would use an area rug in one of the two, but not on both of them, because I feel that the area rug can definitely warm up in a space, but at the same time, it encloses limits the space.
Okay.
So you can make it more cozy in one side, and then the other one you leave it without, just to open up the space. And always,
I love that tip.
Mm-hmm. And then mirrors. It's amazing what mirrors can do. Instead of doing, if it's in a small sitting area, instead of doing artwork on the wall behind the couch, then do a big mirror. That way you open up the space automatically, and then you can bring some drama maybe in the dining room with a piece of art.
Got it. Checked. Okay, so we have let's go for a couple of questions. Thank you so much to everyone that is commenting. Thank you. I think Ibsen is watching too. My lovely Ibsen. Mwah. Also, Oneida, you have a lot of compliments. People commenting here in the group too. Thank you everyone for watching. And also, question. I think I have your question on. What is a good budget on average? I know we're not going to talk a specific pricing. That's not part of our consultation or our presentation here today. That's kind of like one-on-one, because it depends on sites, it depends on areas, it depends on all of that. But what will be a good average price for a stage? A full stage. Let's do full stage.
Okay, so that depends. Usually, we evaluate the price depending on the bedrooms. If it's a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms. Another thing that you have to take in consideration, this is very, very important, is if it's a home or if it's an apartment. Because when it's an apartment, you have to go through so much. Sometimes you have to get different, maybe for the movers that I use, I have a great people that I work with. Those are my angels. I call them my angels. So obviously they need an insurance for certain buildings. So I need to use some people for certain things, some people for other projects. So it really depends. So it would be very hard to tell in general. If you Google it, it gives you an idea.
Okay.
They're off because I checked.
Okay. Well, I know you've checked. Well, if someone is interested on that idea of the staging personally, maybe they can reach out to you. We're gonna leave your information there, and they, because it's hard. It's like the same thing if someone asked me, so how much do you charge for selling a house? I don't necessarily like talking like that and say a general price either upfront like that either. I want to see the home. I want to see what the client's needs are. I want to see what work is needed. I want to evaluate the home and also present my services properly prior to explain like why did I come up with this price, right? Exactly. So I totally get it. This was a question and I kind of have to say it because it was kind of a question in here.
Like whoever asked the question, I would be more than happy to answer it and doesn't have to feel obligated to anything.
Okay. Awesome. Let's see. Oh, Nancy, how did you convince sellers to change that red wall that they are so attached to and take down those family photos? Asking for a friend. Look at Nancy. Hello. So how did you tell a client, hey, that red wall has to go?
Well, you see, usually when I see a client, I have already been very highly recommended. So on a way, the client is already open and they trust me.
Okay.
So I make sure in a very kind and soft way to let them know that I'm here for your interest. Because to me, it doesn't make any difference if it sells or if it doesn't. But I am committed to me, the excitement that I get when I hear that 3 days later after I did the staging, there's someone already seriously interesting. It gives me such a high that I cannot explain it to you. So, it's something that, because you're a team with the seller, you're a team with the realtor, of course, who was the person who brought you in most of the time. Mm-hmm. And then you are a team with the buyer too.
Yes.
It's a teamwork. And the more you
I love that so much.
The more it becomes easier then for the whole transaction to happen.
Okay, you were way too kind on how to say that to the client. In my world, when I walk in a house, even though I'm kind of like playing with that, but when I go to a house and I see that red wall, I just say very kindly, obviously, and very respectful, but I always say something like, this home is no longer a home. Now it's a product that needs to be sold. And now we need to compete, or we need to be compelling with the marketplace. What are buyers looking at? Is your home, is this cold neutral? If you go to a furniture store, or if you love red, I get it. But you are now only, if you leave it the red wall, you're only leaving that to buyers that love red walls. So what about those that they don't like red walls? So now you are limiting the amount of buyers that could potentially purchase this home as soon as possible, right? So I just say this is not compelling with the marketplace, because it's not. We want to make sure that this is a product that can be sold fast and at top dollar. So And sometimes we have done it also, and I know some people in our office. Maggie's great at doing that. Shout out to Maggie as well. She actually offers some of her clients, and I started doing the same thing, that sometimes they have an issue because they might not have cash flow to pay for painters or something like that. So we actually, in our services, we help them with those payments, and then it gets paid at closing. So it's kind of like a little credit that we give, that then we get paid at closing, because we are sure that if they do paint the wall, they will sell faster and we will all get what we want, right?
Totally,
So
totally.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's teamwork to me. That's teamwork.
it is
This is
teamwork, and I
what
love that you touch that.
see that totally. You
Is
have
it?
to see
See.
it.
Awesome. I don't know if we have anything else that maybe you want to tap on, or touch base on, or mention that we might have forgotten. I know we're already like minute 35. We're taking a little bit of time, but is there anything that you would like to let us know, other than that you're amazing and your services will be provided to anybody, and that they can reach out to us to give your information to them? We'll leave your website and your Facebook page also on the post. And yeah, but is there anything that you would like to let us know today?
Yes, well, I know that a lot of people don't really still don't understand what staging is about. They think so. This is so interesting because people think that staging is a new thing, but you know that staging is been out for over 30 years. It's just that it was not in the last 10 years is when really people understood what staging was all about. And they have written many articles about it because it's amazing what an staging can do. It's totally, totally amazing. I like I was telling you yesterday. Um, the way that it came to my life to do stages, it was something that I wasn't looking forward to it. It was not something that I was even trying or really heard much about it until friend asked me to do this favor for her because she always liked my taste. And it ended up being a beautiful experience. And of course, me seeing the results, I got totally hooked to it. So I do recommend, and I think that sometimes even if you cannot afford for me to do the staging, if at least you get someone who can guide you, maybe you pay them a few hours just to guide you. What would you do? Pick colors, this and that, and then they're gone, and you do what you can. Even that little much would make a big difference.
That is, yeah. Yes, 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 yes. And at the end of the day, as we said, it's an investment. We understand that, as you said, everyone is selling for different reasons. If someone is in a financial hardship and they're barely making it to the selling side of things, they might or might not have this opportunity. But working with the right realtor, you might get that credit and pay for the stager if you need it, right? I'm not promoting that just like that. Let me actually have the disclaimer there that it will be case by case, and we'll have to see what we can do to help. But obviously, anything, as you said, even a consultation, even just a consultation, and go to I don't know, to the home for a couple hours and sit down and say, okay, do that, do this with your blue tape, maybe remove these ones, and just maybe a fee by the hour or whatever you guys can come to an agreement. I think it's key, and I think that's helping a lot of our people watching. I'm loving this. I love interior designing, and I'm loving having you. You have amazing reviews, and I know your family is wonderful. You guys you just have such a great vibe. So I hope to work with you in the near future, and a lot of times, many other times. And I wish you the best, because you do absolutely great work. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining us.
And I want to thank Nancy for thinking about me, and not only want to thank you for this opportunity, but I want to thank you for the bottom of my heart for the work that you did for my sister. Because in just few times that she
Thank
saw
you.
you
I
guys,
get emotional.
not only her, but my other sister and my brother-in-law who have had many properties. Like they have owned many properties, not only here in the United States, and they love you and they trust you. And one thing that is hard to find nowadays is people that we can trust. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and keep up the good work, because we need people like you guys. We need realtors like you guys. We really do.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, I didn't expect this. Oh, whew. Okay. Let's keep it together. Thank you, Anita. Thank you. I hope to see you in person very soon. Hopefully, this COVID will give us a break, and we'll see you. Thank you. Thank you. We love you, Nancy. It's yeah. She loves you guys as much as I do or more. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Bye bye.
Bye.
And for anybody else watching and still staying with us for one extra minute, thank you for joining us today. Today we had some tips to sell at top dollar. One of them was inspection. It's a good idea to do a pre-sale inspection to make sure that the property is not going to have a lot of issues after you go under contract and that buyer gets scared. So it's not a bad idea to do an inspection. And also pre-sale inspection when you are in certain towns and suburbs of Chicago, you must do a pre-sale inspection to be in compliance with the code of the town. And I advocate to always do it sooner rather than later, even prior to even go under contract. So I advise you to do that. And then we'll also tap for the most part of these consultation / sellers bootcamp part 2 staging. So I hope you got some tips. And if you're in the market or know someone that is looking to sell, I would love to help. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone has a great night and be safe out there.